The Romney Tax Plan. Who pays? You do. Now, the Romney Plan cuts the tax rates by 20% while eliminating tax credits and deductions to pay for this tax rate cut. The 35% rate drops to 28%, the 33% to 26.4, the 28% to 22.4, the 25% drops to 20, 15 to 12, and the 10% drops to 8%. Now, the Romney Plan is designed to be revenue neutral by eliminating many loopholes, and we call these things deductions and credits. The federal government will receive no more or no less money after the tax law changes, and it would not affect the budget deficit. Every dollar of cut would have to be made up by a dollar of revenue from eliminated or reduced tax expenditures, of course, deductions and credits. The new tax rates would cause a $361 billion revenue loss to the United States Treasury. $251 billion of this will be coming from the people making over $200,000 a year. $110 billion of this cut would be to the people in the lower brackets, people making under or less than $200,000 a year. According to the plan, these losses must be made up by eliminating deductions, tax credits, and loopholes. There is one big problem, however. There are not enough deductions and credits to eliminate from the top 2% to pay for their tax cut or the tax rate cut. Now, the revenue loss from the top 2% tax rate cut is $251 billion. Now, if we eliminate all possible loopholes, all credits and deductions in this group, we only come up with $165 billion. That leaves a shortfall of $86 billion. And who will have to pay for this? Probably the middle class. Now, the middle class gets a $110 billion tax cut, but will have to pay the Treasury almost $200 billion with less deductions to keep the plan revenue neutral. We have $110 billion that they need to pay back from their own tax rate cut. Plus, we have $86 billion shortfall for the top 2%, which leaves a grand total of $196 billion that needs to be made up by the elimination of deductions and tax credits of the middle class. Where will the $196 billion come from? Well, it could be your health care insurance. If we eliminate or reduce the exclusion of the employer contributions, the Romney Plan could gain $131 billion to pay for their tax rate cut. Now, many of you get your health insurance through an employer. The employer pays $12,000, maybe $15,000 a year for your health care insurance, and right now you are not taxed on it. If they decide to tax that, make that taxable income, that could provide $131 billion for their tax rate cut. Or your mortgage interest deduction. Right now, you can deduct your mortgage interest from your taxable income. And if we got rid of that deduction, we could make $88.5 billion to pay for the Romney tax rate cut. Or your charitable contributions, the money you give to your church, to the charities that you like to support. Right now, you can deduct this from your taxable income. If we eliminate this, we could save or could provide $47 billion for the Romney tax rate cut. And finally, your child credit. There's a tax credit for children. If we eliminated this, we could gain another $28.4 billion to pay for the Romney tax rate plan. Now, the question is, who gets the breaks? Maybe this is the most important question. The top 0.1%, after all their deductions and credits and loopholes have been eliminated, still get a $246,000 tax cut. The 99th percent to the 99.9% would get an $86,000 tax cut. The 95 to 99th percent would get a $5,000 tax cut. And the rest of us, what would we get? we would get a $1,000 tax increase on average. Some of you would get a greater tax increase depending on the way you get your health insurance, whether you have a mortgage, how many children you have. Some would get a little less, but it would be a tax increase. So, in summary, to sum it up, the Romney Tax Plan. What it does is it shifts $86 billion of wealth from the working middle class to the already very rich.